I think we can start.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is our fourth, or this is our fifth Jammu and Kashmir talk in our Jammu and Kashmir series. We had started this about a couple of months back, generally to get people to start talking about Jammu and Kashmir beyond the usual narrative. And we have been successful in raising a number of issues. We have talked about the cultural contributions of Jammu and Kashmir. We've talked about life in Jammu and Kashmir, and now that it is sort of opening up. I mean, the whole country hasn't been under any sort of lockdown. Not as much as definitely Jammu and Kashmir has been. And you have seen the worst of times, but we hope now you'll see the best of times in the days and months to come. So the whole idea of this series has been to find out what are the reasons for hope. Everyone's talking about Jammu and Kashmir only in black and white terms. We're looking at those silver linings, those bits of the glimmers of hope that are showing up, and that give us a sort of a perspective about about Jammu and Kashmir and its position in India as it moves ahead. Today we are talking about tourism. When we started our discussion, we were also talking about the wealth of Kashmir, the soft power of Kashmir, and how it can attract people from all over country. We have, of course, talked about the handicrafts of Kashmir. We've talked about food and beverages of Kashmir. And now I think the time has come for us to talk about the most important industry with which we associate Jammu and Kashmir. A little more Kashmir than Jammu, but I'm sure now Jammu will also get its place in the tourism sun. And we are looking at tourism. Tourism especially because I think you have had a particularly bad year. I mean, it is after February or after January that the rest of the country, the travel and tourism sector, the rest of the country has been feeling the pinch of COVID-19 and the disruption caused by it. But you guys have been seeing it throughout most of last year. Just after you have seen some really, really good days, and just as we had thought that Jammu and Kashmir was getting back its old place in the tourism rankings. But we always try to look for glimmers of opportunity in what looks like even in dark times, and we are looking for those glimmers and those green shoots. Today, our panel consists of very eminent people. We've got Mr. K.B. Kachru, the Chairman Emeritus and Principal Advisor, South Asia Hotel Group. We've got Khalid Ghulam Muhammad, who's hotel the Kargil at Ladakh is a much sought after destination. We've got Dr. Amit Vanchu, who's a big supporter of our series, and he's the CEO of Space Communications. He's not only a practicing medical doctor, but also an event organizer. I wonder where he gets this time and energy from. I think we'll have to ask him that. We have got Sajid Farooq Shah, the owner of Comrade Inn Hotel. Very interesting name. I was asking the origin of his name. We have got Shazia Nazir Bakshi, the partner of Shiraz Travels, and we have got Shamim Shah, who's the Secretary General of the Jammu and Kashmir Tourism Alliance. He is going to join us shortly. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the discussion. I would like to, sort of start it from Shazia's point of view. You have been, I guess, as a tour operator, you've seen the reality on the ground. You must have seen it on the days when, Srinagar used to be packed with tourists, and people are talking about Pahalgam and Gulmarg coming back into the spotlight. What is the perspective today, and what kind of future do you see for the industry?
Sarish, you started very correctly when you said that yes, what the rest of the country is now feeling the pinch of since March when the lockdown started for COVID. Srinagar has had a very bad year since the abrogation and since August 2019, and we have had this impact on our industry for almost about over a year now. If you're just taking about these times, and if you're talking about the heydays of Kashmir as a tourist destination, I mean, it was one of the most favored places, even from the 70s, 80s, until the early 90s as well, 89, 90. That's when the trouble started over here. So yes, we have seen both ends of the spectrum, from where it was a favored destination to a state that has been literally penalized for everything. We saw what happened in 2019 when the tourists were asked to leave, and all the right in the middle of the season everything started. So we've had a huge hit on the industry. You know, as per the KCCI, they're estimating the losses are almost about 15,000 crores to the industry. This is way before COVID even hit up. Whether it's your shikara wala, the hoteliers, the taxi wala, the pony wala, the impact has been huge on all of us. It is a huge, I mean, most of the hotels are shut. Even the ones that have opened up post-COVID, they're running on skeletal staffs. There is no tourist as such that I've seen in Srinagar this entire summer. Some government official visits are there, but that does not count for anything. I mean, this morning in one of the most leading newspapers of Kashmir, Greater Kashmir, there was an article about how an Innova taxiwala is selling clothes out of his Innova to pay for his installments. So the impact has been huge. COVID, of course, has done its damage, but this started way before in August.
That's right. Yes, so I still remember those lovely days. I remember when my parents would be talking about. I mean, I'm a Bengali, so and Bengali tourists like used to throng Jammu and Kashmir. Yeah, so they must be giving a lot of your bread and butter, your puja holidays. Yeah? So I mean, they couldn't think about. They couldn't afford to go to Switzerland. For them, Switzerland was Jammu and Kashmir. They couldn't think of. And I remember those lovely pictures that we still have in our family albums of Pahalgam, Gulmarg, and my parents in the younger days being there. I'm also fortunate to be married to a Kashmiri for the last 25 years now.
Nice.
But unfortunately, Kashmir only exists in pictures for me. That is a tragedy of our lives. Very pretty pictures, but only in pictures. Sajid, that brings me to you. Again, some voice, a voice from the ground, as it were. What you own a hotel. And by the way, what is the origin of the name Comrade Inn? Why is it called Comrade Inn?
It's a long story. I will get to you personally. I will tell you what it is about.
Okay.
Later.
So, let's stick to. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Let's now talk about the state of hoteliering or the hotel business in Jammu and Kashmir.
Hotel industry here is like everyone knows, the situation on ground, and plus we have our own challenges. I am into hotel business since 2010, and since 2010 was my first year, which started with the turmoil. And 2011, only one good year I have seen as far as the tourism is concerned, that is 2012. And 10, 11, 13, 14 floods, 15 again renovating our properties, 16 again turmoil, 17, 18, 19, everyone knows what it was all about, and now COVID. So tourism overall and hotel industry is in a very bad state of affairs. And the kind of investment you have to do.
Well,
sorry? Right. This is an audio problem. Ruchin is just suggest 1 minute. Can you again repeat what you just said?
I said the hotel business in Kashmir.
Yeah, we got that. But thanks to COVID, the situation has only become worse.
And now COVID. So overall, what we have seen, like if you see across valley, like hotel industry has in a big problem. Like people who have invested their money, they have been facing a lot of challenges. For us, now it is like, I don't think even if the situation remains same for even a year, we won't be able to survive. On one hand, you have to see how properties, new properties are getting updated. You have your own challenges for being in business and to cope up with the modern amenities, facilities, upgradation. We are not even earning for our day-to-day livelihood. So for us to get back to the, like on international standards is impossible. Today, if you see across the valley, most of the hotels have turned into, you can say, like dabas, because they don't have that much money to again put it into the hotel business. They have not even got 10% of the return what they have invested.
So now
So
tell me,
hotel,
are the hotels, what are they surviving on? Is it the restaurant business that is keeping them afloat, or
nothing. We are just surviving because of our own background. Like I am into real estate, trading, and other businesses.
Right.
So we are just pumping money from there to for our survival in this, and it has a limit. You cannot go
Right.
beyond.
Exactly.
Right. And people who have upgraded their hotels, like many big chains have come in,
Right.
when
Right.
you look at their balance sheets and their debts,
Right.
I think that is like, it doesn't make any business sense. So
Right.
we are in a deep, as far as hotel business is concerned, it is in deep problem.
Right. Right. I think this is it's a matter of grave concern, especially because no one seems to have come up with a solution yet. Which brings me to Mr. Kachru. Do you, by the way, I want to welcome Mr. Shamim Shah, who has joined us. Mr. Shamim Shah, he joined us and then, he has just joined us.
Yeah, good evening all.
Yeah, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And of course, we'll have a lot of questions to ask you, but right now, I was thinking I'll just ask Mr. Kachru this question that, we all know the problems of Jammu and Kashmir.
Yeah, just I would like to request our panelists, we have an interaction with Secretary Commissioner Tourism at 6.
Okay.
So is it possible that
right.
I would be given a little
Okay, so why don't you okay, we'll come to Mr. Kachru later. Mr. Kachru, I'll just come back to you.
Fine. No.
Shamim, please go ahead
No
and present your, we heard Shazia and Sajid make very eloquent sort of opening statements about the state of the tourism industry, travel and tourism industry in Jammu and Kashmir. What is your understanding from the ground up?
See, what I would like to, most of people across country know it, that tourism and travel industry in Jammu and Kashmir, precisely Kashmir, is bleeding from 3rd of August 2019. Why and how, we will not go into that debate. That was a political decision, let it be like that. So it's not just from March that COVID has hit us, we are hit big time. And if government doesn't come for something bailout package for stakeholders, because people have invested a lot of money in hotels, etc. Even transport segment has invested. Travel agents or tour operators, they have invested money because they go for pre-purchasing. So each and every person or houseboat people, they upgrade their houseboat. So each and every person in their own capacity has invested a lot in tourism in J&K. So
no, I just want to for the sake of our listeners, and they're both on Facebook and Zoom. I want to ask you, how many new hotels opened up in the last, say, 5 years? There was a flurry of hotels. ITC came in, Taj came in. How many hotels have opened up in the 5-star or 5-star business segment?
Taj, actually, it is in a partnership with Taj. It's a local entrepreneur. So
Right.
like ITC came in, so ITC has done a same sort of agreement with local
The local,
entrepreneurs
yeah, right.
who was already in hotel business, but they have their lot of standards which have to be compiled before they go and make it known as ITC or Fortune or
Right.
Welcome Group Hotel. So
Right.
once that local investor or local entrepreneur has invested that much money and
Mm.
there has been no return on it actually.
Right. Right.
So people, that's what I said, that tourism and travel industry in Kashmir precisely is bleeding big time.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Like you said
bailout
that
package recently,
you're meeting the Commissioner of Tourism, at 6 p.m. Now, what sort
yeah,
of, look, I'm sure he knows the situation on the ground very well. What sort of
yeah.
solutions exist? I mean, are there any solutions to this issue? Or,
See,
it's a no-win situation?
uh, recently our Lieutenant Governor, Honorable Lieutenant Governor has come up with that 1350 crores. We have to understand what is in that for the local tourism industry. Earlier in the announcement, they said 50% would be rebate on the electricity bills for, commercial establishments. That means hotels would be covered, or houseboats or travel offices would be covered in that. But then, Financial Commissioner came out with another, thing that it is 50% on the demand charges. Demand charges are very negligible. I don't think that has been some judicious attempt to help tourism industry. Now again, they have said that on loans they will give 5% of the interest. We have been talking to different banks, and they said there is too much ambiguity in the order because they don't know is it 50% of the interest charged, or it is the 50%. Say if for any account 10% is charged, they will get a 5% reimbursement. Or is it that if 10,000 rupees has been charged, for example, as an interest component, they will get 5% of that 10,000 rupees. So there is a lot of ambiguity. Clarity is nowhere in Kashmir because, every time they say something, but on ground, different things are implemented.
Right.
Like, your first question says that, how can JK attract more tourists? JK, it doesn't need promotion at all. What we
Right.
need is, we need some sort of SOP, some sort of, safety measures. Like we have right now rapid testing going out at airport, and we have RT-PCR also.
Right.
So next day the test report comes. But that's not going to help only at the airport. If somebody intends to come by road, we have to check out certain strategies. If somebody turns positive, is government going to take care of them, or they have to be on their own?
Right.
Say one person in a family turns out positive because this is more of a family destination. Will
Right.
all of them be quarantined, or that one single gentleman will be quarantined, or that person would be quarantined? So there are lots ifs and buts in the, if they are serious. We are now a little hopeful because Secretary Commissioner Tourism has just, we have new one, and he has been earlier our Joint Director of Tourism. So we have high hopes on him that he understands tourism as a subject. So there are, many hopes on him that he may come and help the ailing industry.
Right. And, the ailing industry needs a multi-sectoral approach. You need the support of not only the tourism department, but also of, the home department, the finance department. It has to be, really, the central government must also play its role in a big way.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is what I said. That we are an ailing industry. We cannot say in today's world, we cannot say that 4G cannot be available in Srinagar, but it can be available in Ganderbal district. I don't want to go into debate for that because then MHA will come up with another set of rules for us, and we have to be confined to the subject of tourism only. Let them decide about it, but it is now, it's, I think it's more than, recently they have given a report in Parliament that 2G is enough for kids. All of us have kids, and I'm sure nobody would agree that 2G is enough for kids.
I mean, even for online learning, you need 3G, So, I mean,
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. You know, they are
Right.
saying that 2G is enough. I don't know which world they are living and what sort of. I'm more than sure the people issuing these orders,
Yeah.
they must be having fiber with minimum of 100 Mbps.
Right, right. So you're absolutely right. Mr. Kachu, coming to you now. You've heard the four the three aggrieved voices from Jammu and Kashmir. You yourself, of course, have been doing your bit to promote investment in Jammu at least. And you're talking about creating a new tourist circuits in the state. But when you talk about new tourist circuits and all, it seems very good. When you're looking at it from the perspective of Delhi. But once you go to the ground, it seems to be a totally different perspective. Where the fight is over 2G and 4G. Or things as basic as that. How do you think will this problem ever get resolved? And what is the machinery or that should be put in place for this?
Suresh, I think, as was rightly said, let's stay away from 2G, 3G, 4G, because I don't think we can do anything much about it. And let's stay focused on tourism. And I am as much aggrieved as the other three are.
Right.
My heart is there. I may be in Delhi, but my heart, mind, everything is in J&K. I think the problem is what I feel. I have served on the tourism boards of J&K for many years. I am associated with it. I am also on the board of a few other institutions there, and I think first of all, J&K government has to recognize one thing: tourism is the biggest industry they can ever have. If they are actually not getting focused on that, and they are trying to do and achieve everything at the same time, I really don't think anything much can be achieved. If you know that tourism is your best pillar and can take you places, you need to stay focused on it. We unfortunately are not there. One of the panelists just said that the revival package has been announced, and there are between execution and understanding there is a difference. I think the problem is you have to streamline your public-private interface. Unless that point is clear, I really don't think you can do by just giving 1,000 rupees per month for 8 or 9 months to some people, and trying to give something to the transport operators. These ad hoc things will not help. I think if tourism is recognized as an industry there, we need to see what are the industry benefits, and these benefits need to be long term if they want investments to come there. We as a company, we have signed 7 hotels already in Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, we have 4 operating hotels in Jammu and Kashmir. So we have really high stakes there, and I think we were, if I am not wrong, we were the first company to establish an international hotel as an international operator in Jammu and Kashmir. We did a hotel in Katra. That's where we. No, that was at Katra. We did Katra Inns and Suites. Yeah, Katra Inns and Suites we established there. Then we have had Radissons in Jammu, operating Kashmir, Katra Inns in Jammu. We have done Sonamarg. We're doing Pahalgam. Now, I think the key thing is that I have to accept that we do need marketing. One of my dear panelists said that Kashmir doesn't need marketing. I feel you have to have a healthy balance between creating a trust factor for any visitor. I was just analyzing Vaishno Devi influx. In first 6 months, we have lost 40 lakh people, over 40 lakh people who
Okay.
have not come like to like this year 6 months and last year 6 months.
And that's a huge
And
amount. I mean,
it's about 47 lakhs. Now,
right,
out of that, I think about 75 to 80% is outside the state.
right,
So you can understand that this needs to be understood. And I think local entrepreneurs, local trade associations need to be heard. They
right.
need to really be heard. In fact, the government should ask them, why don't you reimagine and reset yourselves if you
Right.
have to revive? If they don't do that, it is going to be very difficult. And the industry, like all of us, we have to accept and expect shifts. And these shifts will take every single day. And we have to ensure relevance and at the same time inspire trust in our visitors. Unless I just heard you have a COVID test, but if somebody drives, if you are looking at domestic tourism, Suresh, last
Yeah,
year against 10 million people we got to India,
right.
26 million people out of India went outside India. And
Exactly.
even if we get a percentage of that coming into domestic tourism channels, you can imagine what is going to happen to a particular place. Now,
Right.
Kashmir is a drivable distance. It has source markets. I mean, even Punjab, Delhi, I'm for drivable. We and giving assurance to our potential visitors to Kashmir. I mean, to open my
Yeah,
conversation, I would say, and I do admit one thing. Everybody there, you asked a fellow panelist, how do you live? How do you survive?
right,
He has other businesses, but let me tell you, a lot of people are surviving on fresh air.
right,
And
right, right.
you have to understand. You have to understand that.
That's true. Which like
Thanks.
this.
Yeah.
No, I think you sort of put a lot of things in perspective, especially the figure for Vaishno Devi is a shocking indicator of what exactly is happening in Jammu and Kashmir. Which brings me to Khalid. Like Kargil, is like almost. I mean, we know it because of the problems there, the war, but we also Kargil is one of the most picturesque parts of India, and I would say it's really one of those unexplored, pristine parts of India. One would imagine that you would get a whole lot of visitors, say at this time of the year, in the normal circumstances. So, what is the situation there today?
Yeah, good evening to everybody.
Good evening.
So, as if now this year has been a complete washout. As Shazia Ma'am just mentioned that since August 2019, we've had the industry has suffered badly. I would go a little back further. I would say after Pulwama happened in February 2019, even last year was equally worse. We had very slim arrivals compared to 2018. Even though I've been in the industry for just 5 years, and in the last 5 years, I've seen one decent year, that was 2018. 2016 was a washout. 2017, we had the after effects of what happened in 2016. 18 was a decent year. 19, because of Pulwama, we had slim to no bookings or no arrivals till May. May, June was slightly better than after August, everyone knows. Even though I operate not in Kashmir as such, I'm in Ladakh, and technically no more part of Jammu and Kashmir.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but what happens in Kashmir equally does affect us. It completely, whatever happens in Kashmir, it does affect our business. Why so? Because the area that I operate in, Kargil as such is not a tourist destination in itself. It more or less serves as a transit or a stopover for tourists traveling between two of the more popular tourist destinations in India, that's Leh and Kashmir. But for the past few years, we've made efforts to promote Kargil as a tourist destination. And
people
one of
who
the
have
things
been
that
to Kargil,
yes,
a lot of my journalist friends, who have been to Kargil, even they had of course gone to cover the war, they still cannot stop talking about the beauty of Kargil. Now, and of course, we all know about the beauty of Jammu and Kashmir as such, or about the religious significance of Katra, Vaishno Devi. Now, when we talk about all this, do you think there's need enough for a comprehensive marketing campaign to promote Jammu and Kashmir? And now, if we assume that there is normality has returned to the state, if we, follow what the government is saying, that normality has returned to the state. If that is happening, then why aren't we pushing tourism? That's the first signifier of normality, isn't it?
See, for me, it's a debatable question whether normality has returned. I won't go into that debate.
Yes, right.
But yes, we've made efforts to promote Kashmir or J&K as such, even Ladakh at various forums. And it's an ongoing process. Obviously, needs more improvement, needs more, a lot more thought needs to go into it, how to improve it. But see, at the end of the day, whatever happens, it does affect the industry, because I feel, from my point of view, this entire industry is perception based. So whenever a traveler perceives that things are not normal in Kashmir, be it the disturbances that we've had in the past decade or this year, COVID. So our industry is the first one to be affected, because at the end of the day, you want to travel because you want to get away from your stress. You don't want to buy stress, because the perception that has gone out in the market is that, things can go from normal to bad anytime. And last year we witnessed this when suddenly around 3rd or 4th August, tourists were just asked to leave. See, it creates a lot of uncertainty. It creates a lot of doubt in the minds of the travelers. So that has to go. And again, in terms of promotion, yes, we have promoted, but one of the problems that I feel that is ailing the industry right now is obviously, COVID is there, but there's no roadmap post-COVID. The government doesn't seem to have the government hasn't come up with any roadmap as to how to revive this industry, be it in terms of financial assistance, as Mr. Shamim mentioned, or any other, no broad policy has been framed as to how to revive this industry. You look at the numbers. This industry contributes about 8% of the GDP of the entire country, and you have no roadmap whatsoever as to how you're going to revive it, how you're going to bring back the confidence of the traveler.
Right.
And at the same time, what's been happening is, since you've opened up in Unlock 4, even tourism has been opened up. Every state has come up with their own set of restrictions. They have their own guidelines. And I've had queries regarding Ladakh. The first thing the tourists ask is, what are the guidelines? What are the restrictions that are in place? So every state has different set of restrictions, and that's creating a lot of confusion, and it's actually not helping the industry. It's actually keeping the tourist or a traveler who intends to travel, even though it's very slim, it's keeping them away because they're not sure as to what the guidelines are. So what the problem is, there's no roadmap as such. The government hasn't come up with the roadmap. And the first thing when any industry suffers, a roadblock, they look up to the government for guidance. They look up to the government for help, and that is not coming in any sense.
Right.
That is true with.
I think you're 100%. And I think that's not the problem only of the Jammu and Kashmir travel and tourism industry. It's the problem of the travel and tourism industry all over the country, it's really impacting the critical employment provider of the country. So many people are without jobs in this industry today. And as Mr. Kachu says, a lot of operators are living nothing but fresh air. So Shamim, before you head off for your meeting with the powers that be, tell me which particular part of the tourism economy do you come from?
I come from all the sectors, you can say. I am fourth generation into tourism business. So
Right.
we have a travel agency which my father started. We have houseboats which my grandfather started,
Right.
and my brother has started into little, a hotel business. So I come
So,
from
so,
all
so
the.
you personally, you have seen all the industries. So,
Yes,
which do you think has suffered the most, or have all suffered equally?
everybody has suffered equally. There is no discrimination that no, this has not suffered and that has suffered, because if we see a tourist vehicle for that
Right.
purpose, they don't go and they will not go for local transportations. So
Right.
they will only keep their vehicles for the tourists.
Right.
So one has to understand that everyone is bleeding. Even say we come from certain sector of business where we can afford to live. I know drivers who are actually going for labor work or mason work right now. Even though we have not fired our staff as of now, but
Right.
if the situation continues, we may have to think, because we have
Right.
staff probably 30 years old, 25 years old, working
Right.
for us. So a person working 3 decades for you is equivalent to your family member.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
but if situation arises like that, we may have to think otherwise.
Right. Right. So it's a very obviously it's not a very happy situation on the ground, which brings me to Dr. Amit Vanchu. You have been raising the voice of different people. In fact, you have been quite instrumental in our programming. You have guided us in many ways about what are the issues to raise, what are the discussions to conduct. Now, given this, you've seen the issues with the tourism industry. How do you think? Again, I'm asking you what I asked Khalid. Do you see a turnaround happening? If it happens, how will it happen?
Hi everyone. Before I talk about turnaround, I think one very important thing that we have to understand is lots of us, we mostly go in and travel in aeroplane, and then an air hostess announces that in case there is an oxygen drop, before putting mask on the other person, you should put mask on your own self. Similarly, all the tourism players in our state, whether it's Jammu Kashmir, erstwhile, or even people from Ladakh, I personally believe that unfortunately we have never empowered people who are connected with the tourism industry. And this is not today's thing. This has been happening, any minister, any bureaucrat comes and issues one order, and then the hoteliers in Pahalgam, Gulmarg, Sonmarg have to follow that. Then another government will come, they will suddenly issue an order, and anyone who has constructed something has to go all the way reverse in that. So there has never been a stable thing in order to stabilize this industry, because we have to stabilize the people who are in this industry. We have to empower them who are part of Jammu, Kashmir, or even Ladakh, so that they are empowered, because when they are empowered, then only this will grow. These things will never work as, these cosmetic methods. One another request I always believe, as you said once, that what about tourism and normalcy? I would always request, let us not connect tourism with normalcy. Tourism should work as an industry, as an industry that other industries are working, because the moment you start connecting tourism with normalcy, it starts coming into a lot of political stuff, and then again tour and travel operators suffer a lot in that, because then you come into that forum. So I personally believe first thing is that all our entrepreneurs, all our people who are here, you have to empower them. Like all my colleagues, whether Sajid is there, Shamim, Shazia, Khalid, and Kachra Sahab has been a veteran in this field. They are the ones who will shape it, and not the people who will be in bureaucracy or politics. Their only thing is to make a good, stable policy. Even, hoteliers have been fighting for so long, and I think only few years back that hotel people can also apply for some industry, and they were given that kind of status wherein some kind
Right.
of money they can get. So similarly, like you talked yourself, and even Kajru Saab talked about Shikara Walas giving 1,000 rupees a month. What will happen with that? It's not going to help. So right now, yes, we never prepare. Unfortunately, Jammu Kashmir tourism always gets up very late. You know, I have seen personally that in case of any TTF or in case of any event or in case of any program, if it has to happen, say now in February, we should plan, like, you know, 1 year back. But
Right.
what will happen is that if the program is on 24th February, on 22nd February, you will be told. Even till 22nd February, there won't be tickets for tour operators. Then say Shamim will be called, Sajid will be called, okay, collect few people, and then you rush to Bombay, then you rush to Delhi, and you're without a plan.
Mm.
So once we are basically working in this field, now let us talk about like how we can go ahead positively. Is definitely we had crisis, as we all talked about that, and we have had crisis, as Sajid said, right from 2010. So for a business guy, it has been a year like 2010, 13, 14, 16. It's like that. Now we need something wherein you stabilize all of us. So if we are talking about COVID, the SOPs should have been in place already. Then a budget. You know, you will be surprised that the publicity budget of J&K Tourism Department is so low compared to Kerala, which has 120 crore rupees only for publicity. And J&K Tourism Department used to have for all the 3 regions only 4 crores. So you can imagine how to reach out and how to go. So they have to work on the publicity part, definitely, because why we need right now, the promotion is basically the trust part, because unfortunately we were always considered as part of being, you know, that there is a disturbance in Kashmir, and now obviously COVID and other things. So we have to take publicity as far as the trust factor is concerned. Definitely, otherwise people will come. You talked about yourself, you know, that our 3 major states which give us major tourism business is Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Bengal. So now onwards, it's the Bengali tourists which used to come.
Right.
In March, April, you have usually the people from Gujarat, and then May, June is always Maharashtra. This used to constitute around 77%, 76%. And rest is all other Punjabis and people other who come. So it's very important right now to set up the SOPs, to devise a plan that in these things, how hoteliers have to survive, how houseboat people have to survive, and then also give some attractive package. You know, there are so many states or countries who are even offering some good benefits to tourists as well if they travel. Say, for example, if someone is traveling to Pahalgam, you can offer a free stay at Gulmarg additional, you know, something like some policies that they can devise. But it has to be done now. It is not that once everyone else is doing and then we will get up. That's what I feel.
Right. I think you've put it very succinctly. It's like you almost laid out the charter of demands, you know, sort of for the. Shamim, you know, for you, I think Amit has drawn up a little list of to-dos at the meeting today.
And I think Shabim was right. Like, I met Sarmat Saab in the morning. He called me, as he rightly said that he's a guy who at once reaches out. So he called me at around 11 to come to his office at 11:30. So I'm so happy because I told him that you should meet travel and tour operators and then do, because 27th September is World Tourism Day. And here I listen that at 6 he's meeting them. It's so nice.
So that's good. So, you know, some you know, we always look for glimmers of hope. So this is one glimmer. But Shamin, are you going to the meeting with lots of hope, or you think nothing will happen? It will be another talking shop.
Actually, we have that, you know, Rajiv Bhai, who started from Surat, Vocal for Local,
right,
covering 34 states and union territories, and covering almost 18,000 kilometers.
Right.
So we are just hosting them, and we have called Sarmat Saab, we have called Deputy Secretary Wasim Saab, Director Tourism will be there, and other officials. So on the sidelines, we are going to definitely speak something.
You know, because if you see, yeah.
No, yesterday I was talking to Sarmat Saab because, you know, we have been in touch almost now more than a decade. So it is more like a friend than a bureaucrat. So he told me yesterday that we have to sit, we have to devise a plan, a strategy where we can, you know, see how we can revive back.
Right.
So definitely he's a positive person, and we have high hopes on him. Hopefully he will listen to us and he will do something. Hopefully, I'm sure.
That's right.
Amit must have seen some positive vibes in the morning.
Yeah.
Good.
So Saurabh bhai, I'll take a leave. I would say goodbye to all panel because I have to be there.
Please, And please make sure that all the grievances that your community has is are well taken care of.
See, we always put forth to these dignitaries, but then it is up to them, and then they have limitations of powers. But if a bureaucrat has a will, he can do things.
Absolutely,
I'm
absolutely.
sure.
Yeah. All the best.
Okay. Take care. All the best. See you next time. I'm sorry I have to go early because of this.
You was,
last minute schedule.
So we will thank you, Shamim bhai, and now we'll come back to Kachu sab. You know, the more I think about Jammu and Kashmir, since yesterday I was thinking, I said that look, in Delhi, or we keep, like, whenever I meet people from the hotel sector, the travel and tourism sector, they're all beating their heads, But really, they have had several years. They've had a good run for several years. It's just this year that has been bad. And here we're talking about a state which hasn't had a good run, in the last 10 years, except 1 year or maybe 2 years. So what is the solution? I mean, what is the way out? I mean, I just can't think of any, sort of.
So, Resh, it's not, I think let's stay optimistic, maybe cautiously optimistic about it. It's not that nothing can be done or nothing. But as I said earlier, I think the government and bureaucrats in particular have to understand and recognize what is the problem. You cannot address a problem if you don't understand and recognize the problem. If they actually mean to do something, I mean, we discussed, I mean, you asked many of us questions regarding marketing. I feel they have to understand there is a difference between advertising, publicity, and marketing as such. Now, just by issuing some ads and attending some seminars in these places, you cannot position and create that trust factor in people. Everybody here, all the panelists recognize that unless we have the trust of the visitor, we'll not be able to do much. That's number one. Number two is, I think you have to have a pull factor in terms of how do you attract people. It is offering incentives, not only in terms of monetary benefits. It is the question of both developing a right infrastructure and giving value for money to its people. I mean, every time I'm sorry, I also worked for the government for a very long time, but I feel instead of every time saying we will open new sectors, new destinations, new zones, it doesn't really help. First, you have to actually consolidate what you have. You have to do something to save people who are already in this business. I mean, small efforts. I'm not saying that start giving just the doles, but connect it with something. There are some small little things which through private public sector participation can be done, like promoting revenue earning policies. If you have in a row 10 hotels and the occupancy is only 3 to 4% in each hotel, I mean, like what they do internationally anywhere, just consolidate, have only 3 hotels open, but pool the revenues and costs so that everybody survives this short period. There has to be creation of joint equity funds. I mean, if you are talking, I mean, I don't want to undermine, government has really announced some good schemes about some waivers, and some clarifications are being sought, particularly for waiver in electricity bills, and they have already offered some subsidy on the interest. But you have to have a complete, transparent policy, if you want investments, we have, let me tell you, our company, we have received offers from many who want to actually build infrastructure there, but there has to be a stable policy. Amit very rightly said, he said, it is the industry, at the ground level, what is right and what can help you save yourselves. I mean, and don't let people change after every 6 months. A new guy comes and he changes, and you accept it and you start running for that. So I think we need to first look at ourselves first. We need to see who are the beneficiaries, who are the losers, what can we do for them, and you have to accept shifts. If you don't accept shifts, you want to stay that I existed like this, I was working like this, I'll continue to work like this. That's not going to happen. Things have changed. The entire dynamics of business, particularly in our segment, has actually changed. And with the interstate movement, when this starts moving, I think you will see leisure movements going really well. It will go. I want to stay optimistic. It will go well. But unless you have a tourism policy, it is executed well, and industry contributes a lot in formation of that policy. It should be the industry people who should be actually actively getting engaged for this. So nothing will happen unless we set our own house in order.
That's right. I think so. Which I'll come back to now, Shazia. You've been listening to everyone. So if I were to ask you that, tell me one thing that can make a difference to you as a tour operator and to the industry as a whole or in general. What will that one thing be, according to you?
So, Suresh, as Kachru Sahab has very rightly put out, this has to be a huge, alignment between what the policies on paper are and what the execution on ground is. Because at this point, what we have seen in the last 1 year was not just, it was more of there's a big difference between having a handout and giving and doing hand holding. So they have to align the policies in such a way where at some point they realize that this is the most important industry that we have in J&K, and the execution does not have to be flawless. It has to be a continued sustained effort, and the bureaucracy has to be in line with the demands of what the people on ground are asking. They have to keep their ears open, and otherwise we all are at the end of our tether. Like Sajid very rightly said, none of us will be able to sustain ourselves for the next 6 months at all if things don't change on ground.
Right, and it's been too long now. It's
too long, and 3 months of 4 months, 6 months of surviving on handouts and having out from your savings is way different from what we have been doing for the last 1 year. We have completely depleted our reserves.
Right, exactly, right. And that's why, though of course, today the meeting is more about getting the person who's promoting vocal about local, and giving him a forum in Srinagar. I don't know, maybe Amit could correct me on this, I think that occasion could have been used to say, okay, what is local about Srinagar that we must celebrate, we have had, in fact, Shazi, you can come in at this point. We have had webinars earlier on this forum on Jammu and Kashmir, where we talk about the bakeries of, Srinagar, the cafes of Srinagar, and, the various products of Jammu and Kashmir, which are unique, whether it's a Rajma or whether it's a particular var or, particular masala. The saffron, maybe the tourism department could have been better, could have used today, the event happening today, in a better way to promoting these, saying that, look, it's time we become vocal about what's local to us. Shazia, any thoughts on this?
It's pretty ironical that we are felicitating a man from Surat, and while nobody knows what is happening in our own market. We should have had something. I think Amit should have had something 27th September.
Yeah.
I'm going to
I,
visit once for this.
yeah, I think Amit, it is a fantastic. If you can, I'll be your biggest supporter on this. You must, you have been, because of big facilitator of these dialogues. You should do an event in Delhi. Saying, what are the 101 reasons for you to come to Kashmir, or Jammu and Kashmir. And, among the many reasons are the cafes and the bakeries and the lovely, woolen work that you have. And,
I agree absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very proud of things that we have in Kashmir, and not only Kashmir, even Jammu as well as Ladakh, Kargil. Every region has its own speciality. Unfortunately, even I was not knowing this vocal for local. I just came to know from Shamim right now. So
See, that's a coordination between everyone.
yeah, the problem is like even this the commissioner secretary has just joined on Monday. He's the new guy, and unfortunately, for last, I think all of us will agree that for last 1 year we have not seen tourism department anywhere in action.
Yeah.
Like I have gone to them couple of times, many times, to the director, to the present director, but things have not moved. When you have someone, what happens in, as I was telling you, if you get in tourism department, someone who has worked in social welfare, unfortunately, he thinks that the way he distributes 500 rupees there to every household who is not able to afford, he has to do the same thing here. So for him, 500 rupees is enough, but a budget of 5 lakh, he will never do for the whole year. But he doesn't understand tourism is different, social welfare is different.
Right.
So that's where the problems happen.
That's right. Yeah, in fact, I think, again, coming, the ground situation is always so different. And then, as Sajid, you rightly had mentioned, that there's a lot of lack of clarity about what's going to happen in the future, or, how the situation is evolving. What's your reading of what's happening?
See, sort of one most important thing is about Kashmir. We were on the map when the most of the world even didn't knew the word tourism. Like tourism, and because of that, our industry, like your handicrafts, your furniture, your walnut and other, we are known for it across the world. But now the problem here is, what I have seen as a businessman, and as my family, we are basically from a business background.
Right.
So the problem here is that there is a lot of control from the government. In all my meetings, I have been telling my colleagues and the government people, first of all, I believe government has no business to do business. It should be out of it. Now, as a tourism player, what is my role and what is government's role? I can put my money, my ideas in my own creation, whatever resources I have. Like I can create a resort, I can create a hotel, I can create a restaurant or some recreational thing. But what government is doing right now is they are monitoring us. They don't have, it is not their business. Like when I say that, I mean to say, like we have beautiful destinations like Yusmarg, Pahalgam, Gulmarg, there are so many. Instead of developing them, instead of providing infrastructure, roads, gondolas, hospitals, your tourist stands or your basic infrastructure, which you see in developed countries. I have not seen a tourism minister of Paris roaming around in Kashmir for tourism promotion. So he has, whatever he has done and whatever government there has done, they have created the place. They have created the environment. Like we have a beautiful place, a winter destination called Gulmarg, which is known from ages, from childhood I have been there. We don't have a hospital. My friends have hotels there. Every year we are there and I have seen tourists, if somebody fell sick or if there is any problem, there is no infrastructure. Now, tourism promotion, it is my job. I have invested my resources in it. I will promote it myself. I know what marketing is. I know what today's digital marketing or whatever. From so many years, we are only selling 3 Mughal gardens in Srinagar, or maybe 4, which 500 or so many years back Mughals created. What have we given? See Dubai, they were nowhere when Kashmir was buzzing. Look at Kuala Lumpur, look at Singapore, look at other destinations. And we still are with the old thought, school of thought, कि अब जो कुछ होगा वो सरकार करेगी, अब वो department आएंगे, and they have kept so much control on the entire thing. They don't allow us to, do what is required. What is tourism now? In today's world, what is tourism? In early ages, a few decades back, tourism was like Bollywood, good gardens, flowers, roses, and that's it. Now tourism is different. Now you cannot please anyone by showing them Nishad Garden.
Right.
Young generation, you need to have resources which we can't make, which we don't have capacity to make. When I say we, I mean to say private players. Now, wherever in the world you see, this whole infrastructure has been created by government and massive fundings have been put in place.
Yeah.
So we can't talk tourism on the basis of what is your problem, how can you increase your inventory, how can tourists come. It is a competitive industry. Why will somebody come to Kashmir and why will somebody not go to Thailand, Phuket, or any cheaper destination or a European place if he affords to? Why will he come to Kashmir? Like, it's beautiful, okay, fantastic, but why will he come here? Ultimately, what I have realized, being into this industry from past 10 years, I sometimes feel my team and myself, I am selling weather. Because in summers, in April, May, and June, we have very good weather. So we have to please them. We have no infrastructure at all. So what is government's role? What is private player? What a private player can contribute? And what is his role? We are still busy with this license Raj. Now you will give me this license, ab sarkar bulaigi, then we will go, we will follow those diktats. So like this, nothing will happen. They have not done even one major event from past so many years. They can call, there are so many people, even Shazia, like Amit, they are Shamim, they are into this industry from a very long time. It is their personal efforts.
Right.
It is their own connections from where they get this business.
And in fact, like you've got, which again we have highlighted in our previous editions, you've got such a big musical heritage, modern musical, heritage.
Sir, there are so many things. Like, yeah. I will tell you, like your corporate events, like few years back, there was an event done. There was a big, huge corporate, Larsen and Toubro or some big company there, almost 1,200 or 1,500 delegates. Yeah. Their guests were in Kashmir, the entire. So it is, the government has, or big players, they have, it's a different role. They can call like MICE tourism. There's a concept of MICE tourism.
Right, exactly.
My role is to, because since it's a very competitive industry, my role, I can only survive if I have the best infrastructure.
Today, MICE also has taken a hit because of COVID, the social distancing.
Everything.
Yeah, right.
After 2013, there is no MICE movement, not at all. And I salute Shamim, Shazia, her brother, Amit. These are all personal efforts of these people, only personal relation, nothing else, by which we are surviving.
Right. So Shazia, what is the one big thing that you did that you feel can be a template for others to follow?
Honestly, the last few years, nothing. Like, Sajid has just so eloquently told you what the whole problem is. I mean, like Kachru Sahab also said, there are 10 million people coming in and 26 million going out. There's anything and anyone who's coming to Kashmir is purely, I'll tell you, you come here in childhood, you have kids. How many times did you take them to those 3 Mughal gardens and that one Dal Lake?
That's right.
There's fatigue. Look at the hotels everywhere. We cannot even give a coat of paint to the hotels in areas like Gulmarg and Pahalgam without the intervention of either the government. The
Right.
upgradation of the hotels. Today, it's a world where at a click of a button, you can see 20 hotels in Paris and 40 in US and 30 in Kuala Lumpur and decide, okay, now this is where my next holiday destination is. They have to, you know, like another point I'll tell you, we host one of the biggest YPOs in Gulmarg in 2015, and we had YPOs from Ludhiana, from Bombay, from Delhi, and from Pune. And Gulmarg, which can be sold as a medical tourism destination.
Right.
Beyond the box, right? It doesn't even have a dispensary over there. What are we talking about? You know, you go to Switzerland, you have the Alps, and then you have the chalets. Look at Dubai. Recently, I was in Dubai just like 2 weeks back, and they have gone into medical tourism in such a big way. Plastic surgeries, cosmetic surgeries, dental surgeries, all the villas. This is thinking out of the box. All the villas along Jumeirah have been turned into private medical clinics.
Wow,
Why can't we replicate the same model somewhere in Gulmarg? You know, the infrastructure, none of us, the private players, have capacity to build over here. But the center has to come up with, like Amit says, a person from social welfare will have no idea about what to plan, let alone execute. So somebody from the center who has had a background in tourism can sit with the players in the industry who are already here, chart a program, and not just then leave it on paper, execute it, and then it has to be a sustained effort over the next 3-4 years.
Right. I think that is where a lot of ideating has to be done, by the people who actually matter. And I think the two things that is coming out quite clearly, that nothing has been done for the state's the tourism sector. Now, of course, it's the Union Territory, but Jammu and Kashmir's tourism sector has not got the support, the kind of hand-holding, that is required by something as big as it is. And second, I think that too much of bureaucracy at the local level, which is preventing you from going beyond what you have already achieved. So I think these are two matters of concern. Khalid, of course, now technically you're in a different union territory called Ladakh, but in what ways are your problems the same or different where you are?
I guess I would say the problems are same, because it's been a year since the union territories have been formed. Otherwise, it was just one state and the same bureaucracy and the same people at the top. And I mean, as someone rightly said, they never think out of the box. It's the same solutions, same assurances that they give. And the problem is they never listen to the stakeholders, right? We are there, we work in this field, we have our experiences, and we do share our experiences with the stakeholders from time to time. It's just that they're so rigid, and it's a debate of generalists versus specialists. Most of the people who are at the helm of affairs and who can make decisions, they are generalists. And as Mr. Amit rightly pointed out, someone from social welfare is picked up and put into tourism, and he has no clue whatsoever how this industry works. And they're so rigid, they have their own set of ideas, and they don't digress from those ideas. They don't listen to the stakeholders. The problem is, they should understand that we have the experience, and we are more than ready to share it with them. It's just that they don't understand it, don't implement those ideas. And see, for example, I tell you something. For the past 4 or 5 years, if I talk about Kargil, we've been pleading with the government that, look, you invested so much in promotion, whatever the money they have invested. Look, Leh at this point of time doesn't need promotion. It's already an established destination. And the problem with Leh, what's happening is it's being overexploited, be in terms of your natural resources. See, an area like Leh or Ladakh, which has a population of say 3 lakhs roughly, receives 4.5 lakhs tourists in one season, and that too within a short span of say 5 to 6 months. The enormous amount of pressure that's putting that it is putting on the resources, the government doesn't understand. We've told them time and again, you need to regulate this, you need to stop this before things go out of control. And at the same time, we've been personally, I have always advocated the idea of having an expert come in, work with the locals to to promote the destination. Say so suppose like say Kargil. We've always educated that look, you need to have someone who has experience in this field, but they're not ready to listen to us. All they do is they pay lip service to it. They give us assurances. We will do promotions. We are promoting Kargil, we are promoting Leh, we are promoting Ladakh, but on ground nothing is happening. The bureaucracy is too rigid. Take for example the support that the government gives in terms of subsidies and various schemes. I bet you 90% of hoteliers, or for that matter, in any industry, they don't know about the schemes. It's just that they are not interested in promoting and propagating the schemes, the various schemes that the government is coming up with. So it's all on paper. There's nothing happening on ground, and it's just that they're living in their own fool's paradise. That look, we are working for it, and nothing is moving on the ground.
Right.
And as Mr. Farooq said, the irony is government is controlling us in areas where it shouldn't. Suppose, for example, they have come up with tariff regulation. I guess it should be free for hotelier should be free to put a price on his hotel. At what cost he wants to sell. He doesn't want government to regulate it. And where the government needs to step in, it doesn't. For example, this year, COVID is such a serious situation. The government has done nothing. It should have stepped in this year. It should have at least held our hand, give us some sort of assurance that yes, we are with you. But that is not happening. But areas where they shouldn't interfere, yes, they'll come up with travel restrictions. They'll come up with the permit system. They'll come up with various regulations that your hotel has to abide by this regulation or that regulation. That all those things that stifle the business, stifle the businessman. They will do it. But things that are going to help the businessman or help the industry, I don't think they're doing it.
Right. That's, I think, very well put. So, Mr. Kachru, coming to you, for the last words, do you think there is need for someone like you to, maybe organizations to mobilize these different voices and put them together, and maybe time for a citizens' white paper to come out, like a citizens' call to action, we are letting our own Switzerland go to the dogs, literally. We are just not, recognizing the beauty we have in our backyard, really. What can we do going forward?
Suresh, I must first of all compliment you in getting right people today. And I was really pleased. I attend these days, everything is virtual, and I've been attending seminars and webinars from different states, and I'm really proud that we had such good forthright views and people spelling out and saying what is right and what is wrong. I think the bottom line is the industry has to be together, and government has to be pushed to accept what is going to happen or what should happen. They should be part of policy making. I must give you an example of UP and Orissa, where local industry really pushed themselves in forcing the government to accept their views in the tourism policy. And well, that's also at a stage when they are still struggling with the implementation of the whole thing, but the document has all the clarities. I feel the local industry should work very closely with the national associations in pushing them, whether it is Hotel Association of India or it's Travel Agents Association of India, and actually telling people what is wrong. A lot of states have done it comparatively better. Kerala, we all have spoken about it. I think Kerala was fortunate to have some very good bureaucrats at the right time who helped form a good policy. And look what has happened to Kerala in terms of how they have been able to manage to position that state. I think local industry is ultimate. You have to actually gather yourself and have consolidated views. Hoteliers shouldn't go a different way, and the houseboat people different way, and travel agents, travel transporters. I think there has to be one voice. If there is one voice, believe me, government will listen to you. And I think very well said about infrastructure. I mean, if you are still going to depend on 3 Mughal gardens and Dal Lake, that fatigue is bound to happen. It will. And Shahja said, I think absolutely correct. In terms of infrastructure, whatever support, but you will have to work hard in actually documenting and actually getting into nuts and bolts in forming the policy. You have to be involved. You will not be heard many a times, but as we say in our industry, never ever give up. You have to continue to do what you have to, and you have such great people there. You really, I'm honestly, I'm reiterating myself, but I'm very happy to hear the views and so forthright and absolutely correct.
So I think the credit for putting together this panel, of course, goes to Dr. Amit Vanchu. He's like the one-man army, So like,
thank you, Amit. Thank you.
And I think, Amit, we have got a lot of pointers from today's discussions. It's time we sort of prepared now that you have a new tourism commissioner. Maybe it's time we put together different views. And not look beyond just the houseboat vertical, or the 5-star hotel vertical, or the budget hotel vertical, or the tour operator vertical. Look at the entire industry and give the solutions. First of all, state the problems and then offer solutions. And I think infrastructure is going to come up in a very big way. And I think someone has to make this point. So Amit, we are looking upon you to lead the pack. We've got such eloquent people like Sajid, Shazia, Khalid,
Suresh, let me tell you, government will have to listen. They have been listening. We, as part of Hotel Association of India, we actually pushed under very difficult circumstances, even a state like Maharashtra, in waiving of certain things which were unheard of. I mean, property tax for the period.
Property tax was a big thing.
For the period. We managed, nobody believed us when we actually were asking them to do it. In Delhi, I mean, the difference between actual consumption of electricity and load factor. I mean, they were charging everybody whatever load they had taken with 80%, 90% occupancy of hotels they had taken, and when occupancies fell to 3%, 2%, they still had to pay minimum charges. The government had to be moved. They listened, but we constantly, every day, we didn't leave any stone unturned. So that's why my submission is that please work with national associations, and but local force is the most important. And if you have the right people pushing it at the local level, support from center, making noise from the center, we are there. Please reach out to me. As I am also part of Hotel Association of India, and I will be more than happy to assist wherever needed to put our points across.
I think that's a very reassuring thought, and I think there are. I mean, I'm surprised that Gulmarg, which is a skiing resort too. I mean, which doesn't have a single hospital, not even a dispensary. I think it's absolutely it is quite clear that what the government has to do, and I don't think it needs to be told, but I still, it always helps, to make a memorandum and present it to the government. And, I think, so Amit, on this, Shadid, last word, tell me.
I have to leave. First of all, thank you, Amit. It is all because of you I am here. Otherwise, I don't get into all this. I have left So he has,
No,
he's a very
good,
dear
good,
friend and I respect him a lot.
good to have you back in the fold.
So my last point is, first of all, I would love to be a host. You should come here for a month and help us in drafting all these policies or recommendation or suggestions to the government. Number two, the most important thing is, in these difficult times, we are in a, like right now, COVID is there, and we are having, there is a lot of political and there is a lot of things happening on the borders. So because of that, tourism has taken and will be, I don't know when it will revive. But one thing can be done in this is the last suggestion I want to make, is we can make our infrastructure, we can create, I'm sorry, I have lost the thread because someone is banging the door and I have to leave. It's a very important, urgent meeting I have to attend.
No, I mean, for the point you're making about infrastructure is very well taken. I think is that the main issue that you wanted to raise?
Right. Yes, that was it.
Yeah, in COVID, you can utilize this time and situation in at least
Exactly, in drafting the policies and the implementation of the work, and we can, create that environment where whenever things are okay, like in all spheres, so then we will be ready for the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
I think thank you so much.
God bless you. God bless you all. God bless you all.
God bless all of us.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Shazia. Thank you, Kachu Sahab. Thank you, Khalid.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Suresh. Thank you, everyone.
And Amit, big hug and thank you so much. For all
thank you. Thanks to everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.